Welcome back to part 3 of the Ford Lightning rebuild. In this episode we have the motor and transmission out of the truck and separated, and we're going to go through, clean it up, go through a bunch of maintenance and refresh a couple of the gaskets, nothing too major. Also probably delete a bunch of the emissions and smog equipment. You can see here we got the motor on the stand, and it's pretty rusty and grimy. It took a good couple hours of cleaning to get it properly cleaned, and we got everything taped off, sealed off, and we're going to give it a couple coats of paint. Alright, now that we got the motor and all painted, it looks pretty good. Hopefully it'll last long. You could see I had got a new oil pan, and you'll see why in a little bit, because the one that's on it is in pretty bad shape. We're replacing the valve covers, taking the old ones off because they're very rusty, and I got a set of Mustang valve covers from late model restoration. And you see here's the old oil pan we're getting off and putting the new one on, along with new oil pan gasket. And along with, I checked the bearings, everything internally that I could when I had it off. And everything looked pretty good and pretty clean, surprisingly, on the inside of the motor. And here's the old oil pan. It's actually not too bad on the inside. I was expecting a hole, given the whole bottom of this is epoxy, it looks like. I think it was just really rusty and the paint was coming off, and they put some kind of epoxy or some kind of adhesive glue or something on there. It did not look good when it was on the truck, so that was my biggest concern. But it was pretty good on the inside of the motor. Here's everything cleaned up. I did the accessory drives, same aluminum finish. It looks pretty good. We got rid of the smog pump down there on the bottom. I kept the underdrive pulleys on the motor. We're going to get a new AC compressor also. Alright, now here's the motor, everything we got back in the truck. Pretty simple, basic, straightforward process. Didn't replace the alternator. I'm probably going to leave it in there, maybe put a little bit of silver on it because it looks really grimy too. Everything else looks pretty good. All the front suspension is done. We're working on getting the cab ready for paint, and the paint here soon. Also got a set of the Ford Racing spark plug wires. They're 8.5 millimeters. Did them red to match the red that we're painting the truck, and also the MSD. Looks pretty good. And here's the upper intake. Did it the same aluminum finish, cleaned it up pretty good. Took a while to clean it up. I'm keeping the EGR on it for now. I deleted that on my other trucks, but I figured I'll leave it on this because it actually should help the gas mileage, I would hope. But here's the top cover. I got a little bit of the excess red paint that we painted the truck. I'm going to do the Lightning emblem across the top of the intake here in red to match. And there's, after a couple coats of clear I put over top of it, and it looks pretty good. We got a good recurring theme there on the motor. Here's the cab after we've painted it all. We're going to work on getting the inside and stuff done. We got the windows retinted. We have to install them along with refresh all of the interior. There's minor body work with the cab. Normal stuff like cab corners needed addressing. There was some previous work there. And here's the doors. I'm also going to put Dynomat insulation on the inside of the doors. I had to weld the washer there where the door handle goes. That's typical on any of these OBS Fords. Those places tend to break out from you pulling the door handle on the inside. But everything turned out super slick. We'll probably give the truck a good buff once it's all together and done. You can see this plywood on the back here. This was from the previous owner, but we're leaving it on because it should help get away from some of the tinniness of the back of the cab. And here's a couple sheets of the dyno mat once I got them laid on the inside of the doors. I'm trying to do all this to help prevent any of the wind noise or tinniness you get with a lot of these trucks. Here's the inside prepped for the paint, and I did a red bed liner kit that I actually had excess from left over from work, and we just did a red bed liner that's almost this identical red that we're doing the truck. Help seal everything off, and then we also got a layer of sound deadener that we're going to put on top, and then we're going to put the carpet on, so it should be pretty good. And here's the most of the interior put together. We had a couple of things we had to fix with the center console. It's plastic, you know, it's 30 years old, so had cracks in places that were breaking in it, but we fixed all those. Redid the headliner, just typical stuff. The door panels took a little bit of addressing to get them fixed. We actually had a couple sets from other trucks we've acquired, so we used them instead and just had to clean them thoroughly because the door panels that were on it were all butchered up. I mean, and again here you can see the intake, everything's on the motor, so it's getting really close to getting back to where we can fire things up and get it back so we can move it. And here's the door panels, everything on it. It looks pretty good. There's a couple more things, like the center pad there above the radio has a couple cracks, but that's typical in most of these trucks. And the interior pieces are getting very hard to find with these trucks. And you can see here we did the mirrors painted to match, and I think they turned out fantastic. I'm thinking about doing this maybe with one of our other trucks. And we also got the bed sprayed and done. We had got another used bed because the bed that was on it was pretty far gone with the rust and previous repairs that have been done to it. We got this one from a junkyard nearby. It was in very good shape and was very minimal work to make it look decent. You can see here this one's very rusted out and it's full of old body filler, so that rust is very extensive, along with holes along the bottom, the bed floor, and everywhere else on it.